Warhammer 40K is a really unique game because as it ages, some of its older products basically become unusable. The best and the brightest, the shiniest models, really what gets the most attention, and the old stuff gets put on the back burner most of the time. So that being said, I wanted to make a quick video and look at some of my favorite models. This might become a bit of a series. I wanted to look at the history of my favorite models. I wanted to start with Tyranids because I think they have some really unique sculpts, and I think they have some really goofy sculpts back in the 80s and 90s. I wanted to start here with the Hormagaunts, and these are the newest of the Hormagaunts. These sculpts just came out last year, and I really love them. I have about 40 of these guys already. I think the new sculpts look great. I think the talons look exactly how I want them to look. The action poses are perfect. They don't balance super well. However, all of mine have a magnet under them now, so they balance pretty well. These are the previous Hormagaunts that came out in 2001, so I definitely think the new version has been a huge upgrade. But you can obviously tell that the new version also took a lot of influence from this old version. And then here we have the original Hormagaunt from 1995. Definitely a lot has changed here, but again, the pose is super similar, so I think that's really cool. They've kept that along the entire time. Let's look at Genestealers next. Again, another refresh that just happened last year. I was also a really big fan of these models. I think the arms look great. The skulls look great. The poses are perfect, especially when compared to the previous options that came out in 2005. Maybe it's just the paint job on these guys, but I really do not like them at all. They're way too fleshy. The talons are too small. The faces are all weird, but they share a lot of similarities with the 1989 version that came out for Space Hulk. Wasn't even officially an army in 40K yet, I don't believe. Let's check out the Lictors next. Obviously, we had a new Lictor that came out last year. We also got a lot of people's favorites, the Neuro Lictor last year, as well as a leader model for your Lictors, the Death Leaper. This guy looks incredible. I love his cape that he has. It's made of his own skin. I think that's sick. We also had the 4th edition 2006 Death Leaper. This one's pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. The multiple eyeballs and just how tall those talons go, this guy's pretty sick. But I think the 2005 Lictor might be the most classic looking one. The Cthulhu style face that it has. And I think the Lictor claws, the very iconic, very specific top claws that it has, I think they looked best in this version. This is the 3rd edition Lictor. Again, those barbs coming out of the chest are super cool and just not something I think the Lictors kept. Some more of the 2nd edition Tyranids. I mean, again, it's probably the paint scheme here, but this guy is absolutely insane. Although I will say, I do wish that the other Lictor models had more of that chest piece kind of claw coming out of this guy. I don't think that's something that we ever saw again, at least not in Lictor models. But honestly, for a 90s model, I think this one looks great. Another refreshed model this year was the Biovore, a very popular model, especially with its spore mine abilities. The new one looks perfect. It looks more bug-like. Like, this guy's basically just a walking beetle, and I feel like the other Tyranids have some humanoid features, and this guy's just lacking all of that. The previous Biovore was from the 4th edition. It's very outdated and much more like a classic Tyranid monster, in my opinion. I think the new one's a huge upgrade. Before that one, we had 3rd edition Biovore from 2001. This is a pretty blurry image, but you get the idea. This guy looks more like the Hive Guard models that are more relatively new. I think the gun isn't nearly big enough, but 2001, it's a pretty cool looking monster. Although again, I must say, I think 1995 steals the cake again. This might be the coolest Biovore. This looks the most like an artillery piece. I really like how he's hunched over and his front claws look like he's locked into the ground. Hopefully in the next edition of whatever Biovore they make, they steal a little more from this guy because I'm a really big fan of this model. Okay, this is probably my favorite of the comparisons to make. This is the new Screamer Killer from last year, 2023. A lot of people had problems with the headpiece. I think it was cool. I think the claws make up for whatever qualities you might dislike in the rest of the model. The Screamer Killer from 4th edition in 2005, I'm not a huge fan of, but I never owned this model. And to me, the claws just don't look quite right. And the Carnifex from 2001 is probably even worse. It looks like he's wearing a goofy little mask or something. I don't know what's going on with his headpiece. And he is standing up way too straight. He's like in line for the DMV or something right now. The 1992 Screamer Killer is obviously super influential to the modern day Screamer Killer. The shape of the pose is basically identical, and you can see that similar head shape coming back into play. I think that's what I like so much about the Screamer Killer, is that they were able to take so much influence from the very original into the newest model, and I really, really like this model. Another favorite model of mine that's gone through some really interesting changes is the Neurothrope and the Zoanthropes. These new models are some of my favorite. I've said that a lot before on this channel, but the Tyranid brains are incredible. and these guys have some of the biggest ones. I think that the dimensions here are perfect. The proportion of body to brain, I think, has been really mastered here, and in earlier models you'll see I think it's a little off. Here's the 4th edition Zoanthrope model. Like I said, the brain isn't big enough, and I think the body is too big, so the proportions are just way off to me. I think the head's a little bit too long also, and the claws are like basically an afterthought. Now the 3rd edition Zoanthrope is doing something different that I find really interesting. This one's almost like a flying snake, and I kind of like it actually. I'm curious if they ever will make a model similar to this again. It's much more snake-like. And the 1995 Zoanthrope might be the funniest one. I have no idea what's going on here and how this model became the previous Zoanthrope. It had giant legs, it had a spiked crown, it had huge hands with claws. This might be the beginning of the influence for the kind of brain bug design, so I'll give it kudos for that. But otherwise, this has got to be the craziest Tyranid model maybe in the entire line. Tyranid warriors are a very classic Tyranid unit that have gone through a lot of changes over the years. The current ones we have are from 2014, and I would say are still holding up pretty well. The Tyranid warriors from 2001 don't look that bad either, honestly. Clearly they carried over a lot of the design choices from the 2001 to the 2014 models, because holy cow, the 1995 models looked very, very different. Again, I think it's just the paint scheme here. I've never seen a Tyranid paint scheme like this since, but I will say the weapons are pretty interesting. And I think it's really cool they had so many different weapon options. It'd be cool to see some more Tyranid warriors with snipers. I mean, this guy's absolutely snake-like also. The very first design of the Tyranid warriors from the 1990s are pretty awesome. I cannot tell you what's going on here. It has like 2 separate torsos. It's got so many crazy bones sticking out. It looks like its chest is hollow. Again, it's much more snake-like. This was before I think they really decided that they were going to be bugs. I will say I quite like how he's permanently laughing. He's got a big smile on his face. And the last model I want to check out here is the Hive Tyrant, who's also gone through a lot of cool changes. Here we have the Hive Tyrant from 2012, coming in 5th edition of Warhammer. This is the one that could also be built as a winged Hive Tyrant, which is the one that I personally have that I really like. And also as the Swarm Lord, who is pretty awesome and covered in sharp edges. Before him, we had a 4th edition Hive Tyrant, which was actually made of metal. This is a very similar design. Honestly, not a lot changed from this design to the 2012 version. And in 2004, this was a Forge World model for the Hive Tyrant and for the Winged Hive Tyrant. This one looks really great. This one feels very big, especially for 2004. This was the Hive Tyrant in 2001 in the 3rd edition of Warhammer. I really like the old teeth designs for the Tyranids, I gotta say. And this was the 1995 Hive Tyrant. This guy is an absolute beast. I should get my hands on one of these and just proxy him in as a regular Hive Tyrant. This guy looks great. He looks like he's out of a rock band. He looks like he should headline for Queen or something. It's crazy. This is another really good picture of him with a different weapon option and obviously a different paint scheme. Yeah, this is a really good Hive Tyrant. I almost wish the Tyranids went back to something like this. They've become very organic and they've kind of lost that goofy edge to them. Maybe in the future they can figure out a way to mix the two a little better. Honorable mention goes out to the Squig Swarm, which I'm guessing is like the earliest edition of the Ripper Swarm. But these guys look awesome. They're like little Muppets. I don't know what's going on here, especially the guy over here in the middle. And here is the concept for the very first Tyranid from 1988, I believe. And honestly, this looks very similar to what we have for Hormagaunts now. I mean, they really kept a very similar shape. It's impressive. Seems like they were more dinosaur-like in the 80s, and they've kind of turned more into bugs, but the shape is there. Well, thanks a lot for joining me in this video and taking a walk down memory lane. Check out Lexicanum, that's the website I'm on right now. It has all these images. They have a gallery of all the models from every Warhammer 40K faction, so you can take a walk down memory lane for any faction of your choice. It's a lot of fun, and I recommend checking it out. I found some models on this website that I didn't even know existed. And like I said, I'm gonna have to get some of these older models and proxy them in as new units, because they're really cool. Thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe and leave a like if you want more content like this. Leave any questions or comments down below, and take care.